Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
St. Lucia's Prime Minister suggests if LIAT fails, it's no big deal. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Friday, April 26th. From the CMC News Centre in Bridgetown, I'm Dawn Paris. Good evening. St. Lucia's Prime Minister Alan Chastanet has suggested that LIAT is easily replaceable, and he has reiterated his government's position that it will not support the financially troubled regional airline unless there are fundamental changes in how it's governed. Chastanet made the comments on Thursday ahead of a meeting of LIAT shareholders and directors in Barbados scheduled for next Tuesday. He stuck to his position despite a recent warning from St. Vincent and the Grenadines Prime Minister, Dr. Rolf Gonzalez, that LIAT may be forced to close operations. The St. Lucian leader says there are others who could fill the gap if the Antigua-based airline had to be grounded. We get more in this HTS News Force report.
St. Lucia's Prime Minister Alan Chastanet has been consistent over the years on LIAT. He wants the airline to undergo fundamental changes before his administration gives any consideration to injecting funds into LIAT's coffers.
His position is very, very clear, is that if in fact that there are fundamental changes to LIAT in terms of how it's governed, and certainly what its plans are and how its plans are going to be implemented, we would be willing to support a new engaged LIAT. If in fact it's going to be business as usual, we would not be in the position to support LIAT.
But what if LIAT is to cease operations? Prime Minister Alan Chastanet says that would be no big deal, as according to him, there are other airlines waiting in the wings.
There are other airlines that can easily fill that gap, that void. So there are other airlines that, if in fact LIAT were to shut its doors, that they would be willing to step in and to be able to make up the difference. And maybe that's what we need. We need a fresh start.
The governments are being asked to contribute based on the number of LIAT departure flights from the airports. In the case of St. Lucia, there are 42 flights from George F.L. Charles Airport. St. Lucia's contribution would therefore be a little more than $1 million EC dollars. Prime Minister Chastanet says the airline has been in this position before and was given an infusion of funds and other forms of assistance to make a fresh start.
It was given a complete new lease on life a couple of years ago. Their debt was forgiven, their new planes were brought in, it was completely recapitalized, and here we are back in the same position. So LIAT had also complained over the years that it was competition. Well, LIAT's not had any competition for the last 7 or 8 years. So the fact is, it comes back to the structure of LIAT, in my humble opinion, is what the problem is. But in the absence of LIAT, there are other airlines that will step up. And
Ghana's President David Granger has made changes to his cabinet in keeping with court rulings that a person holding a dual citizenship cannot be elected to Parliament. In an address to the nation on Thursday, in which he disclosed that the resignations of 4 ministers earlier this month have now taken effect, Granger said his administration is adhering to the Constitution. In a ruling upholding the December 21, 2018 no-confidence motion against the coalition government, the High Court said it was unconstitutional for a person holding dual citizenship to be elected to Parliament. That aspect of the ruling was affirmed by a majority decision of the Court of Appeal last month, although that court declared the no-confidence vote invalid, a matter now engaging the attention of the Caribbean Court of Justice, the CCJ.
I have, in accordance with the court's rulings, accepted the resignations of Mr. Carl Greenwich, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Dominic Gaskin, Minister of Business, Mr. Joseph Harmon, Minister of State in the Ministry of the Presidency, and Dr. Rupert Rupnarayan, Minister of the Public Service in the Ministry of the Presidency. These resignations take effect on the 25th of April 2019. I thank these ministers for their stewardship as members of my cabinet and of the National Assembly since May 2015. Their sterling public service has been to our nation's benefit.
The resignations of the ministers created vacancies in the Cabinet and the National Assembly, and President Granger announced the reassignment of ministerial responsibilities.
Mr. Hemraj Ramkumar as Minister of Business, Mrs. Dawn Hastings Williams as Minister of State in the Ministry of the Presidency, and Mrs. Tabitha Sarabo Hali as Minister of the Public Service in the Ministry of the Presidency. I announce also the reassignment of junior ministers as follows. Ms. Annette Ferguson as Minister in the Ministry of Communities with responsibility for housing. Mrs. Simona Charles Brooms as Minister in the Ministry of the Presidency with responsibility for youth affairs. And Mrs. Valerie Patterson Yearwood as Minister in the Ministry of Agriculture with responsibility for rural affairs. I assure you that these appointments and reassignments will ensure your government's continued commitment to serve our people.
No replacement was made for Foreign Affairs Minister Carl Greenidge, and while Granger did not at the time say who would be the new members of Parliament, the 4 replacements were sworn in when the National Assembly met on Friday for the first time since the no-confidence motion. Mervyn Williams, Tabitha Sarabo Hali, Donna Mutu and Raynard Ward took the oath of office before the Speaker. Their swearing-in was not witnessed by any opposition MPs, as the People's Progressive Party, the PPP, stuck to its decision not to sit in the National Assembly until the CCJ rules on the no-confidence motion appeal. While the PPP says it has no intention of naming new MPs to replace its 3 parliamentarians who stepped down over their dual citizenship status. Gail Teixeira, Odinga Lumumba and Adrian Anamaya tendered their resignations, but opposition leader Barrett Jagdeo said on Thursday that he prefers to await the outcome of the no-confidence case before the CCJ, which will hear arguments on the appeal on May 9th and 10th.
If we win the case at the CCJ, and the prospects looks good, their prospects look good, and if we win the case there, then there will be no need for this, because Parliament will not reconvene. And if so we are waiting on the ruling from the CCJ.
In other news, the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard says it has so far rescued 9 Venezuelans after a boat carrying passengers bound for the Twin Island Republic overturned near the Bocos Islands on Wednesday. In an updated release late Thursday, it said that in addition to the 4 people previously rescued, 5 people were found by the Venezuelan Coast Guard in Venezuelan waters, approximately 55 kilometers north of where the boat capsized. The Coast Guard said it was also informed that although there were 25 names on the registered list of passengers, there were 9 additional people who were on the vessel but were not listed. That means that at the latest count, 25 people are still missing at sea. Ahead in Caribbean Newsline, education officials and police in Jamaica in shock as a missing teacher becomes a murder victim. The details after the break.
bad. Fire one bad attacking, and I tell us that 300K, that's a pocket money. Need a money counter for cut my money. IQ Music, so you know the real name on the bird paper, QN Campbell, understand? Spanish Town, born at Tom Supen, Kura Winterspen, reside in Angels right now, understand? Been to schools, Greendale Basic School, Christian Primary, then Ozemart Technical High School, you know, from there we decide to say, alright.
Now add 24 ounces or 3 cups of your favorite marinara sauce, either homemade or store-bought. Season with half a teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, a 1/4 teaspoon of dried thyme, half a teaspoon of sugar, and 2 tablespoons of parsley. Bring that to a simmer, then cover and cook on low heat for 5 minutes while you make your cheese sauce. In a large mixing bowl, combine 16 ounces of cottage cheese, 15 ounces of ricotta cheese,
We continue in Jamaica, where Minister with responsibility for education, Carl Samuda, has expressed a shock at the murder of teacher Samuel Martin. The 41-year-old lecturer at the St. Joseph's Teachers College had gone missing on April 20th. His body was discovered in an advanced state of decomposition with the hands and feet bound on Thursday morning. And as the police investigate the killing, they say they're disappointed and in disbelief that residents knew about the abduction and the murder but said nothing. We get more in this TVJ News report.
6 days of searching for 41-year-old Samuel Martin ended in this overgrown stretch of land, Juno Gully, between Juno Crescent and the farm communities in Clarendon. Mr. Martin, who lived on Waterloo Close in St. Andrew, had been missing since Good Friday when he went to Manchester but did not return home. His relatives and the police have been pleading for information to help in locating him. The Clarendon police say they found his car on Friday in this same area, but there was no sign of a body. But head of operations for the division, Deputy Superintendent Paul Bernard, says based on new information, another search was done Thursday morning.
Within 15 minutes of the search in the bushes at Junior Gully, which lies between Farm and Junior Gully, the body of what appeared to be a male lying on his abdomen was found in bushes, advanced state of decompose, with hands and feet bound.
The body was found about 300 meters from where the car was found on Good Friday. Speaking on RJR 94 FM's Hotline program on Thursday, head of the Clarendon Police, Senior Superintendent Vendelin Cameron Powell, said based on the clothes the body was clad in, she was sure it was that of Samuel Martin. However, SSP Cameron Powell expressed surprise at 2 factors that impeded the search and investigation. Firstly, despite being in an advanced state of decomposition, the body had no odor. That's because it was doused with petrol.
I have never heard of this in my 35 years of policing, where gas style thrown on the body to keep down the scent. So while it is partially decomposed, there is no odor coming from that body to even draw attention to nearby people or passers-by or so on.
In addition to that, SSP Cameron Powell told Hotline host Emily Shields that based on investigations, details of Mr. Martin's abduction were known by several people from Friday, but no one came forward with the information.
A lot of persons saw what happened. They knew what happened, and they hid the information. They called out of town. They telling other persons what they saw. Emily.
What?
No one yet. I won't be surprised if I see his videos going around. Believe in me, I wouldn't be surprised.
You mean the people would have had information that could have helped you long time ago?
Long time, from Saturday morning.
Oh, no.
From Saturday morning, and this is the sad part of how cold our citizens have become.
Despite this startling revelation, the police say it's not too late for persons to come forward with what they know to help the investigation.
Buju Banton arrives in Barbados for the much-anticipated Long Walk to Freedom concert. The Grenada Music Festival is back, and Tobago promotes its film festival. The details in this week's Newsline Entertainment.
The Barbados Reggae Festival kicks off this weekend. The main attraction will be the performance of Buju Banton for the Barbadian leg of his Long Walk to Freedom concert on Saturday night. Buju arrived at the Grantley Adams International Airport on Friday. The Grenada Music Festival is back. Marketing manager of the Grenada Tourism Authority, Francine Stewart, says the event is returning in June.
We're very proud this year to say that we are going to have a music festival. We used to have one and it got cancelled, and a brave promoter decided he is going to make this happen and announced about 8 weeks ago with the government support that we are going to have a Grenada Music Festival, and it's going to be June 7th to the 9th. The lineup is amazing.
We now go to Tobago, where tourism officials are promoting the island's Rural Film Festival. Coordinator of Tourism, Glenda Rose Lane, says this is part of efforts to preserve Tobago's history and culture.
It has been said that arts and the culture imitates life, and therefore the rural films create an even playing field for every member of every audience to witness the real thing, to see life as it is. It is with this in mind that a rural film initiative was created.
Organizers say it is also an opportunity to combine the talent of budding filmmakers and the Tobago population.
The ultimate goal of this program is to foster a viable Tobago-based film sector as the THA diversifies Tobago's creative industries into other areas of sustainable development.
Mary-Claire Williams, Newsline Entertainment.
Ahead in Newsline Sport, former FIFA Vice President Jack Warner plans to sue the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association. We'll tell you why after the break.
To learn how to play the drums.
Really?
But I could not get the coordination right. Like, they were telling me I had to do like this beginning thing like this.
I mean,
like,
once you get that, like once you get like the...
But you know what I'm talking about, right?
Like once you get the independence of basically dissecting your brain in half and be like your arms, your right arm and your left arm and your right leg and left leg could be doing...
Hands down, look.
Thank you, I appreciate it. It's a blessing.
It's not easy.
Well, we're living in a period of economic boom. The stock market is doing well. Unemployment is at record lows. Consumers are happily spending money, and in a consumer-driven economy, that's always good news. Jobs are, in fact, so plentiful. There's a shortage of available employees, and companies with jobs to fill are seeking out those who are employed elsewhere. Skilled American workers have become free agents, so to speak, signing with the highest bidder. But all is not entirely rosy.
Former FIFA Vice President Austin Jack Warner plans to recover over 15 million TT dollars he says is owed to him by the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association for the last 15 years. The former special advisor to the football body says he will commence legal proceedings as early as next week. CNC3's Ryan Bashu tells us more.
A stern yellow card on Friday morning for local football from a past player.
Unscripted, low-budget horror movie that is unfolding in front of our eyes.
And a past administrator.
We need to find a way in football to move away from the egos and the big man thing.
When it comes to local football, no man has ever been bigger than Jack Warner. The former FIFA vice president telling the Morning Brew on Friday he will open legal proceedings against the FA as early as next week, after they wrote off $15.5 million owed to him over a 15-year period.
They sat down in a meeting and they agreed to just out of the blue withdraw a loan they had on their books for some 15 years for $15 million to Jack Warner.
Warner told us the money is owed for kits, travel, allowances and more, all of which he aided the team with for over a decade. It will be a stinging blow for an already crippled football association. Millions in debt, bank accounts frozen, now facing further litigation. But the news wasn't welcomed by the former Caledonia AIA chairman nor former TNT player Brent Sancho.
Not because something that was not well thought out or something that was not in the best interest of the game happened under his stewardship, should we encourage it in the now. Times have changed.
Let football stop airing the dirty linen in public. It's unfortunate to hear that Mr. Warner is going to continue in this vein of crushing the federation.
With 7 months to go to the TTFA election, local football remains in limbo. And how much lower can it go?
To cricket now, a conflict in dates has forced Caribbean Premier League CPL officials to make changes to the tournament schedule. The CPL, which is usually staged in August, could be moved to the end of September. CPL's Chief Operation Officer Pete Russell says organizers were forced to make the changes as a result of India's tour of the Caribbean. HGP's Stanford Howard has the details.
The Caribbean Premier League, which is usually held early in the year, around July to August, has now reverted to the last quarter due to a clash tour date with West Indies, who will host India in the Caribbean. Speaking at a recently held press conference at the Marriott Hotel Guyana, COO Pete Russell said the reason for that being is them wanting the best talent in the Caribbean playing, and it's a clean window, adding that CPL has made some big developments in terms of cricket.
We'll have to automatically select 2 players from a development squad that's been put together by Coach Adams and his team at Cricket West Indies. And again, what this means is it allows us to keep the progression of young talent coming through. You've seen it obviously in Guyana more than anywhere, probably with the likes of Hetmar and Rutherford, but our intention is to get more young West Indian cricketers obviously into CPL. And also one of those players will have to be in the starting 11.
When questioned about if this was a direct request from the new CWI administration, he said that since under the Cameron administration, it was in the pipeline, adding that the new change of CPL playing dates is not a concern since the finals was played on the 24th of September last year, in which they had the best crown. The tournament last year saw each team allowed 5 international players, which has now been reduced to 4.
And again, the reason is I think we probably went too far last year with the number of internationals, and I think, again, you know, the CPL is a Caribbean product, so you want to make sure you're encouraging the youth within the region. And, you know, you can see over the last few years that, you know, some of the players that have come through CPL and now gone on to do what they're doing in IPL, etc. There's plenty of talent here, so yeah, that's something we really want to jump on.
Where you can purchase at least 5 of these players still, they only play 4.
Exactly right, yeah. Last year it was 6 and 5, so effectively you're only allowed to now field 4 players. Last year you could field 5.
Question about the drafting process and if any big cricketing star showed interest, COO Pete Russell hinted that the drafting pool might be bigger than ever. Also stating that CPL will not be looking to lengthen the tournament from its current 5 weeks, but if they want to add more teams, they will certainly reduce the number of games.
Off-spinner Sunil Narine has not given up hope of wearing West Indies colours again, although he's missed out on being part of the squad for the ICC World Cup starting in England next month. Although the 30-year-old was available for duty, a finger injury meant he was not considered for selection to the 15-man squad announced on Wednesday. Narine told noted cricket website ESPN Cricinfo, quote, "I don't think it would be right to go into such a big tournament carrying an injury that won't permit an increased workload and stress on the finger. The performances are fine, but I need to build up the required strength to go from 4 to 10 overs regularly." End quote. Narine has taken 92 wickets from 65 ODIs, but has not played in 3 years for various reasons. He last represented West Indies in a T20 on the Tour of England 2 years ago, but has since plied his trade on the global T20 circuit for for several franchises. He was one of the previously out-of-favor T20 stars to be considered under Cricket West Indies' revised selection policy. The Trinidadian is currently campaigning for Kolkata Knight Riders in the Indian Premier League. And finally, the Trinidad and Tobago swim team is pleased with their third-place finish in the just-concluded CaribVision Games, where they picked up 48 medals. TV6's Sergio Dufour reports.
Proud athletes showcasing their medals after participating in the CaribVision Games. After 4 days of swimming, Team TTO placed third overall, having won 17 gold, 12 silver and 14 bronze medals, a total of 43 medals. Coach of the team, Brian Wickham, says this year's performance is an improvement from the previous year.
This performance was quite exceptional for the last 2 years, 2017, 2018. We would have placed fourth in the CaribVision Swimming Championships. This year we would have moved up the rankings, placing third overall, right behind Bahamas and Jamaica, but most significantly with a very young team.
He says that the team was able to reap rewards as a result of their extensive training. He added it made the difference against the other teams. Up next, he says that they intended to partake in CCCAN.
It is our intent and hope that a lot of these swimmers will qualify for the CCCAN Championships, which also extends into the 18 and over age groups, right? So it's our hope that between now and then that we could continue what we have started now and ensure that our team is prepared for CCCAN Championships.
Swimmer Delroy Terrell, who participated in the boys 15 to 17 age category, said that they are expecting to do well at CCCAN.
This time we'll have more swimmers in CCCAN, so I think we have a better chance of placing even higher in CCCAN because now we'll have more talent in the team.
And that's the sport. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
I was good. Sometimes I had my days. I like to party and I did like school. I got sidetracked once I got in high school.
I had spoke with the girls a few months ago about domestic violence, and I really didn't know at that time that many of them in that room were being abused.
Again, the major developments of this day. St. Lucia Prime Minister Alan Chastanet suggests Liat is replaceable and insists his government won't pump any money into the airline until there are fundamental changes in how it's governed. And in sport, former FIFA Vice President Jack Warner plans to sue the TNT Football Association to recover more than 15 million TT dollars he says was owed to him for the last 15 years. And that's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport around the clock, subscribe to CanadaNews.com. For more of our programming, log on to CaribVision.tv and check out our YouTube channel. We'll be back here again on Monday, but from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching and have yourselves a good night.